This is Peak Earth. I'm Case Bradford. Thank you for tuning in to this episode with Jonathan Brookins. Jonathan was a professional fighter and still is, but he was the winner of the Ultimate Fighter. So he fought in the UFC and had his ups and downs, as we all do. We discussed some of those challenges that he faced, including addiction to marijuana, nicotine, pornography, things that many are facing and challenge to try and overcome today. We also discussed some strategies and ways in which one can confront addiction to come out on the other side as a better man. One of those is the healing power of the ocean, healing power of greenery, trees, forests, jungles, developing one's faculties of awareness, meditation, martial arts, self-control, doing one's best, being of service. I really enjoyed hanging out with John at this open air MMA gym in Costa Rica on the beach, doing movement and in conversation. In this episode that we recorded and in the many conversations that we have, I really respect the way that John carries himself and the journey that he's on. He's an awesome guy, and I'm glad we were able to create and share this episode with everyone. If you'd like to contribute to Peak Earth, I came up with a few ideas. One is to leave a 5-star review on the Spotify app or the Apple app. That helps Peak Earth reach more listeners, which I appreciate. Another is to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm making a lot more of these in person, filming them in cool locations, so you can check that out on YouTube. Lastly, another thing you can do is to pursue your calling. Take another step today. Do not wait, do not put it off, do not procrastinate. Take one more step towards fulfilling your true purpose, your calling today. No more rambling from me. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy this episode with Jonathan Brookins.
Today, for instance, it was interesting. I was in the grocery store in Costa Rica, and this guy's like, "You look familiar." And I was like, I already know what's coming. It's a guy who watched The Ultimate Fighter like 12 years ago. And I was like, "Do you watch UFC?" "Yeah, maybe. Oh, you ever watch The Ultimate Fighter?" "Oh yeah, you're that guy." So I was a guy who did a reality show at one point in my life, and I never wanted to be like a flash in the pan, like success. I wanted to be like successful and awesome, and like the guys that I ended up losing fights to, I genuinely, I don't know, I can't tell if it is something that I wanted. I didn't become that. So I did win the reality show, which I guess was enough. I guess the great creator in the sky felt like that was enough for my life, and I'm grateful for it. So I won the Ultimate Fighter season 12 with George St. Pierre and those guys, for people familiar with mixed martial arts. And I didn't have a great run in the UFC. And that part is interesting. I didn't have a great run for a lot of reasons. A lot of my own self-sabotage and my own addictions and limiting behaviors and things kept me from seizing an opportunity that was right there. And my life got really hard for a long time. And I, lost my 2 brothers in the process. They also were struggling with things like addiction and whatnot. So I was losing family members, the people that were really close to me. I had an opportunity that I let slip between my fingertips. Now we're all suffering. So when trying to describe like the journey that I'm on, it's hard, because the only way that I can sum it up for people, like for them to understand what I'm really about, it's actually just about resilience. It's about trying to share resilience, but also like how you and I talk. I think a lot of what I feel like I want to do is just talk about the human experience in ways that not a lot of other people want to address, because I've had to see it in ways that were very uncomfortable, but they're also the very truth about reality. The truth is, again, that like it's not permanent. The truth is we're all going to age. The truth is we're all going to die. The truth is like we all suffer a little bit, sometimes a lot of it. And these are not my own. This is actually Buddha's 4 Noble Truths. Like I'm just like biting his thing, but but I've got to I have experience with this, and so that's a lot of what I'm trying to do with my life at this moment. I'm just trying to be a better example than I was at certain times in my life, and do the best I can to hopefully find myself of service before my time is up.
Beautiful. That must have been a challenging journey to go through. At some level, it feels like you're at peace with the part of the journey that you're on, and you feel, to me, seems like you're clear on where you're at and where you're meant to sort of be, like here and now. And a lot of people are lost. So I believe what you are sharing is potent and powerful, and many would benefit from listening to the message that you're sharing. Is this message that you're putting out what you needed to hear 10 years ago?
Yeah, I don't think this message was available for me 10 years ago. You know, I think it's very unique to my experience. That gives me peace. It's understanding that, wow, like it had to have been written like this. Like you had to be the ultimate fighter and you had to fail a lot so that you could become this very unique individual that offers, like you're saying, this potent medicine of what are the tools that helped guide you through this. Now share those, you know, like we did a little bit of pranayama in the beginning, a little bit of meditation. And I've had to really try to figure these things out, because the alternative for me was, I say this and not, I'm reluctant to say it, but it's how I felt. I felt like the alternative for me was maybe like an early death, and I don't even know how long I'll live. I try to be a little bit more open with the idea of like life or death and not hang on so tightly, because when you have 3 siblings that pass away, that's quite a large number, and it left me feeling very vulnerable, like oh no, like why is the universe out to get us, et cetera, et cetera. So there was nobody that could have helped me at that stage, but I do think that I will be able to help other people, if that makes any sense.
It does. How did your siblings pass away?
My sister passed away from, she was an alcoholic for a little while. She struggled with alcohol, and it's hard to explain. So I'll put it like this, just so that I don't go into like so much detail. You ever seen The Matrix? I always like reference the Matrix movie, right?
Yes.
The Matrix and we're all trying to unplug from the Matrix. Okay, there's this scene in The Matrix where the dickhead Cypher, the guy who like wanted to be plugged back into the Matrix, and he double crosses everybody.
Yeah.
So he double crosses everybody, and he goes back into the ship, and he starts unplugging everybody. And when they're in the Matrix, like they get unplugged, and when he unplugs them in the ship, they die automatically in the Matrix. All 3 of my siblings, God bless them, and I love them to death, they all unplugged automatically. Each one died very quickly. So my sister, ultimately what happened was she was trying to sit up from bed, and her heart stopped. She was only 26 years old. And my little brother, he overdosed on fentanyl. He was struggling with heroin, and I look at him like a victim from the opioid epidemic that ran through Florida. He was a young kid who got addicted to the pills that the doctors were giving all the kids, et cetera, and ends up in a heroin addiction. Fentanyl killed him automatically. My sister had a baby 2 weeks before she passed away. My little brother was about to have a baby in about 2 weeks. So each one now left a child before, as they left. And my older brother I just call it a broken heart. It's hard to explain exactly what made him, but people say he was crossing the street and he just dropped. And so, yeah, that's the story of my siblings. And I'm so connected to them that I have to believe in some way that like somehow their soul just unplugged from the Matrix. It was not, they didn't suffer. So I like to believe they're on a spaceship somewhere, like some place, and I'll get to like hang out with them again one day.
Sounds like a difficult experience to go through.
Psychologically it is. Because you can't talk about it, but nobody can prepare you for the level of grief that you feel when that happens, when you're looking at the person that you love in their casket, and you are face to face with the finality, the finality, or the just the end of it all. Like it's a shell. It's nothing. You know, the most morbid thing I'll say is like this morning. This is just weird how some of these things went, but like I just was like thinking, and I was like, wow, like I was thinking about my brother and like where he's buried, and I thought, wow, like right now it's only like bones under there. Like no more of his like flesh is existing. Nothing. He's not, and no more. Just his bones somewhere. I don't know, that stuff. Like, so when you have it's like these are the types of things that like you struggle with for the rest of your life, and it's, thank God not everybody has to think about those types of things, but for some people they do. And if you're strong enough, then maybe you can paint a better picture for other people and prepare them for some of the harder parts of life.
I have some friends who, family members, struggle with addiction, and it's such a challenging and gnarly problem that is persistent for many. And I'm sure many listeners can resonate with the story that you shared, or they maybe have some fear that people who they love will end up like that. And from your experience and reflection, is there any insight you could share as to maybe some of the root causes there, or some of the things that could potentially help someone in that position?
Yeah, I mean, root causes of addiction. I was very pleased that you had posted something the other day about a guy who was talking about, was it Aristotle or no?
Saint Augustine of Hippo, saying that the addiction is.
It's like a Stoic.
I'm not positive on the history of this saint, but he said that the addiction is caused by a God-sized hole in someone that they're trying to fill with substances or whatever it is, and that hole can only be filled by finding God.
I like that. I really like that a lot, actually, because I feel like that's kind of my experience with it. It's definitely, I mean, like, I think modern interpretation is like they're going to look at it like chemical, like it's a chemical imbalance. So maybe God is some sort of chemical. Maybe God is some sort of like dopamine or something. Who knows? But it's definitely like you can see the chemical imbalance, and you can see that like we're addicted to like dopamine and this and the other. So maybe we need to get our dopamine hit from God somehow. Like maybe we need to strive to find God in a way that gives us some sort of dopamine hit, so that way you can find your fulfillment. You can find fulfillment. Is that a word?
I like it. I'm not sure, but fulfillment is a good word.
Fulfillment. I don't know what's happening. Why I can't come up with, but I know fulfillment and this together is something that I'm looking for. But
we'll coin this word right now.
You can find fulfillment. Is that what I'm supposed to say? Fulfillment. Find fulfillment.
That works.
Without the nest. So you can find fulfillment, you know, in your daily life. And I think that's a lot of what Nosara gives me, you know, like I'm sober, like from alcohol and marijuana and whatever. So people call me sober, but actually like I still get tripped up by nicotine a lot. So like if you go to like AA meetings, you'll see no shortage of coffee and like nicotine, well accepted, not considered drugs, highly addictive. So I don't know. But anyhow, I get really addicted to it, especially like in New York, man. I need nicotine so much in New York. It's crazy. Like I can't stop for nothing. And I came to Nosara and gone. Haven't had any nicotine, haven't had anything. I mean, forgive me for admitting that I'm not perfect, that I do like nicotine. I'm not going to lie. I like nicotine. But,
that's a popular stimulant these days with the Zins or the knickknacks. And
totally.
I had a similar thing where I was using a lot of knickknacks, which is this like nicotine lozenge that it just dissolves in your mouth, and it gives you 6 milligrams of nicotine. And I know people who they're just all day. They wake up until they go to sleep. They're just like nicotine, stimulant after stimulant. And I came here and sort of quit cold turkey, whatever that, wasn't particularly challenging. I'm not sitting here acting like I had like a huge addiction to it. I was just using a few a day, but still the ability to just stop, no longer crave it, because you're just surrounded by something that's so supportive of natural state without substances. And being in New York or LA, where there's just more going on, more commotion, that you kind of have to block out with stimulants, with substances.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think your nervous system gets really gets really dysregulated, and nicotine has this gives the sensation of calming the nervous system. And so if you're in places that are particularly high stress, then you're going to find yourself like craving nicotine a lot. And so in New York, it's nearly impossible for me to go that long. I can go a couple months, but something will like always like trigger like this like need for nicotine. Maybe I could like beat it and override it, but I just don't really feel like I have enough tools to like really like give me that fulfillmentness.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one tool right now, we're looking out to the left of this open air dojo and we see greenery. Green is the most regulating color to the nervous system. So just by gazing at these trees rustling in the breeze, where our nervous system is more regulated than if we were looking at, you know, buildings or really anything else. And just having that sort of supportive surrounding it is such a massive up level in the baseline state.
Totally. And the ocean too.
Yes.
The ocean is like, that's like gives you an unfair advantage. Like honestly, like that's the thing with it, that because when I was trying to stop nicotine when I first got here, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like I brought like a nicotine. I like personally, like for all the people, I don't want to share my like secrets, but because I'm not like I'm proud of myself for having a good palate. So I like the nicotine that like the shamans make from like deep in like Colombia. Anybody who's involved in like the medicine circles and things like that. It's what's called ambio, and they put the tobacco on the gums, and that's my medicine. Like I feel like I have superpower and super creativity. You know, when I was young and I was addicted to marijuana, because I'm the guy, anything that like I like and I'm not proud of this, like I need it all the time. Like when I smoked weed, we were talking yesterday, and there are people who could be like, oh, I'm gonna do what I need to do during the day and I'm gonna smoke weed at night. Nah, I can never. If I'm smoking weed from the second I wake up all day long. So anyways, I came here and I had my nicotine that I liked, my little ambio, I rub it on my gums, feeling really good. And I knew that I had to quit. And so I threw it all away, threw all my nicotine away, and I just started going in the ocean. And it was the easiest cold turkey of my life, man. You know, I just like would go in the ocean and I would just feel that happiness, and I just was cool. So I was really, really happy with that. Sometimes it's torture trying to quit. So twiddling my thumbs, what do I do? Like, how do I pass? You know, I don't know. This is really nice.
Yeah, the ocean, or really any wild water for folks who don't have access to an ocean. It could be a river, a lake, a creek, a stream. I believe those are the most powerful sources of this vitality, and you could say God consciousness. You could say just nervous system regulation. There's a lot of words for it, but any wild water out in nature, ocean is the best, but not everyone is coastal. It's such a great way to just relax and regulate and sort of find inner peace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's why trying to set up some roots here, and with like my mission to try to reach other people, and I want other people to achieve like clarity as well. I want them to achieve freedom from maybe the things that are limiting to them. And my vision is to be able to get other people to come to Costa Rica and have that experience, because like if that works for a guy like me, luckily I was already like off of weed and alcohol, like I'd already been away from that. But you might have that last little one that might be like tripping you up a little bit. It could be, for some people it's like pornography or something, right? It's like could be something like whatever it is, who knows? I use that one because that one always like surprises me when people are like, I have a porn addiction. I'm like, not judging you, man, but like you know, like it's different. Mine's nicotine, so
yeah.
But whatever it is, you know, like I want people to be able to experience the freedom from that and realize that is some sort of that makes sense though. Like maybe like you were saying, like that God consciousness, and maybe that is what you're filling up on inside. So that's why that hole that we're filling with the other things does start to get filled with that. And I'm sure that if there's other parts of nature that I could have used to fill that hole, but it makes sense now why it was so easy, because I was like now having that experience of God inside of the ocean, filling that void.
It's powerful. And you mentioned pornography addiction. I'll touch on that because it's sparking something inside me. A lot of men watch pornography and they don't even realize it's bad. They may not even realize how it's impacting their lives. It's definitely a massive negative and changes the way that they perceive women, and it is probably disrupting a lot of men's sleep cycles because they're watching this at night, and it's just a massive distraction and decreases testosterone a significant amount. I think that's a very pervasive problem, as is marijuana addiction, and you went through that. If you'd like to share more on that, I think that could be helpful for folks.
Yeah, marijuana is super addicting. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Anything that's messing with your dopamine, like receptors, is going to be addicting. Like your brain is going to stop making it naturally, and it's going to like ask for it from the external source because it's like found a reward center. It says that this was rewarding. Like we move forward in life because of the things that reward us. Like Buddha was saying that, like, you know, I go back to like what I learned in my Vipassana meditations, and they would teach you things that I didn't know about Buddhism. You know, it's hard to, like, unless you really want to study it, but they break it down very simple. And they tell you that, like, what his, like, first, like, enlightenment, like, his first words once he reached his enlightenment was like, oh, wow, I see that my thoughts create my reality, and my thoughts are made up of my cravings and my aversions. So basically he was saying, like, oh, wow, like, I see I'm like a binary machine. Like, I'm like a 1 or a 0. Like, I go towards more of the things that I like, and I try to get less of what I don't like. And I start to create this, like, complex algorithm, and I kind of run unconsciously throughout my life. The algorithm is so complex that I think it's me, and I think that, like, I'm making these choices. Even the things that I'm saying, it's just a reaction to the questions you ask, to the environment, and what's coming up is just like a complex system that's like just playing. It's like the same way you ask ChatGPT something. ChatGPT knows answers, and it talks to you. You're no different. You know, you're not. You're just like, think about the first 3 years of your life. You have no recollection. That's when you compiled all of your data to make all those stupid reactions that you're going to make in your later life that make convince you that, like, case even exists. You just took in a bunch of data. Why didn't you remember it? Because you didn't have enough data to create the fucking system. And then once the system, like, comes online and you're like, oh, this is my identity, and you're just running out into the world. Anyways, weed's addicting. Also, you know, the pornography thing, I don't know why, also, like, going back to just, like, sex and things like that, and just because it also sparked something in me, I guess I should have been more honest when I'm like, oh, like, some men are addicted to porn, but I didn't realize that actually I wasn't admitting. When I was a kid, like, I was, so I was kind of trying to place the blame on everybody else. But actually, when I was a kid and I first got the internet, I was on that shit all day long, you know?
Yeah.
And it completely has affected, even to this day, like, how I interact with women, how, like, my sex life was awful for the first, I'm 40 now, 35 years of my life. Can you imagine? 35 years. Like, because I was just off, I got off on the wrong foot. I never even knew, you know? So these things are, they're really impacting how we're relating with our significant others. And that's a huge part of your human experience is like your compatibility and your ability to exist. People don't exist in relationship very long, you know, because of all these, like, distractions and things. So couple of things to throw out there.
I agree. Pornography is really demonic, and nobody tells you when you're young that it's the negative consequences. You just go on the internet, all that your friends are using it, watching it. It's just, you know, naturally driven as a young man who's just coming into his sexuality purely gripped by, you know, sexual instincts and urges, like zero discernment around that. You know, a young man, it's just like, I don't know what is happening, but I'm like being driven by this new force between my legs. And it's wild because pretty much every guy ends up watching pornography. Nobody says anything about it. We don't learn that it completely alters your perception and your way of relating to women. And it's a lot of men still get stuck into that for a long time. And it's like a demonic force from technology into the brains of the masses, and it's distorting a ton of relationships and reality.
Yeah, and like the way that you describe it, if like you're a father and you're describing it to your kid like that, that's awesome. You're a great father. But I grew up in conservative Portland, Oregon, where it was like, oh, you watch porn, that's a sin. And you're like, what does that even mean? You know, like first you're going to have to like get me to really subscribe to like your definition of like heaven or hell, which is an undertaking in its own. And if you haven't got me there, if I'm not fully bought in, then just telling me it's a sin is not going to stop me from doing anything. So, you know, not having, I think, the language to describe what has been happening, like what is happening chemically with your physiology, what is the actual like true like ramifications in moving forward. That is what like led me to India, to ask bigger questions and to seek out broader answers, because like you're saying, like it's bad for all these very real reasons, like bigger than just like, well, God says it's bad. Well, God probably does say it's bad, but because of the reasons that you just highlighted, because it's disrupting your, I keep going back to like your reward centers, because not having control over that is ultimately going to be the make or break. Like what's that study they did with those kids who were like, they gave them like one cookie. You ever seen that? And they're like,
Yes.
if you wait, then you can have 2 cookies and whatever. And like 90% of the kids, they leave there, and the kids like, and the ones who waited and waited for the people to come back, they went back and studied the kids later, and they were like infinitely more successful. So it's your ability to like, delay your sense gratification.
Yes.
And it's like these things we're not taught these things. To only be able to delay your sense gratification takes a high degree of like self-awareness and self-observation. You got to be able to dialogue with the impulse and be able to override it and say no. And that's addiction, that's this and the other. We're having this conversation. It's a very important conversation. And these are things that like as communities we need to work with together, because then we can give more people these tools, and then we can have people that can call in better outcomes to their life. Because if you don't have that's when your life is going to suck. You're going to make choices because you don't realize it's an algorithm anyways. All you're trying to do is set up your algorithm to operate at a higher level than the one that's just like, me eat and me crash in my head and whatever. So like a caveman.
That's really well said, and it illuminated a great way of looking at it, which I'm coming to a vision of, or a sense of this as like self-awareness or meta-awareness, where you're able to become aware of your own sort of decision-making or instincts or inclinations, and then even be able to override it, where you sense yourself reaching for something, going in a direction, and then you can kind of reroute that. That takes this sort of amazing level of psychic ability.
Yeah.
At least to the average person, that's at some level a superpower, but it can be developed through things like meditation, yoga, breath work, movement practice, just to name a few.
Yeah, of course.
Martial arts is a huge one.
Yeah, martial arts, these things. But I think from my experience, what I found to be the most potent tool, because what's great about Vipassana meditation in the 10 days, it's like all of the guy, like, so Vipassana, for those who haven't done it or don't know much about it, it's a technique of meditation that was supposedly taught by the Buddha. Like what what the Buddha was teaching was what was called Vipassana meditation, which means insight. So he was teaching a technique to meditate, right? And this is the Buddha. This is Gautama Siddhartha, the enlightened one. And it's taught now in these centers all over the world, and they're taught by a guy named Goenka. So Goenka is like this really fat guy from Burma, and he's dead now, right? So he has to teach it. You can only teach it through videos that he's pre-recorded because he's dead. So every time you go to the centers, you're watching these pre-recorded videos of Goenka. And I've done them 6 times. I've done 6 10 days.
Wow.
And every 10 days, I'm watching the same exact videos of Goenka teaching. It's phenomenal, though, because every time you get something new from it. It makes me feel like he channeled something in these. It's like his voice is so distinct and so, and he's saying the same things over and drilling it into your head. And one thing he's drilling into you, he says, like, develop your faculties of awareness, your faculties of awareness. Develop your faculties of awareness. You're sitting there, and you're literally like, that's what you're trying to develop, your faculty of awareness, your faculty of awareness. And he's like, observe the subtle sensations, observe the subtle sensations. Another one of Buddha's great contributions to the world of meditation, he says, because people were meditating long before the Buddha, meditation was a thing. But where Buddha started to contribute was he started to say, wait a second, every thought that I think in my head first comes from a sensation in my body. So the sensation comes first, whether it's I'm hungry, I'm this, I'm that, whatever. Then the thought comes, and then the reaction to the thought comes and just creates this whirlwind. So he's like, first get to the root of observing the sensations and not reacting to the sensations. And that's really important. And so when talking about the main tool to use in steering the body, or steering, our consciousness from one direction, is to develop the awareness of the root cause of the sensation. And it's very important. The last thing I'll note is, because I always try to explain to people, imagine what they're like, well, how is it, to really think about everything inside of your brain has first come from an external source, which is very fascinating to think about. If you think about a baby that was born, this is kind of weird, but a baby is now born, and for some reason this baby has no sense of touch, it has no sense of smell, it has no sense of vision, it has no hearing. None of its 5 senses are working, but it's still born. If that baby continues through life without any of its sense faculty, then what thought could that baby have ever developed? It couldn't have developed a thought. It wouldn't know what anything is. It wouldn't know what sound is. It wouldn't know what smell is. It wouldn't know. Its brain would have no data. So that's all that you are, is inside of your noggin is 100% external influence, which is kind of weird for me to think about. How do we even come up with original ideas?
That's one of my favorite topics of conversation, is where do ideas, or at least topics of contemplation. For a long time I've been curious where ideas come from, and I suspect there's a aspect of us that is like an antenna, and is able to sort of tune into the collective consciousness or the realm of pure potential, and is able to access new ideas through that. And that antenna, to me, is kind of the key reason why I do things like movement practice or take care of myself, because I want that antenna working. I want my body, mind to access a high level of vitality so I can channel in through the realm of pure potential great ideas.
Yeah, and you're right, actually. That's what Sankhya philosophy, Sankhya philosophy is a really my favorite, one of my favorite philosophies. That comes from it comes from what's called the Shad Darshan, and which are the 6 accepted philosophies that make up Ayurveda. So Ayurveda is the science of life, and Sankhya has a great explanation into how the universe works and came into being. And it understood things like this is a long time ago, right? Before they understood the Big Bang, they understood the law of conservation of energy. They understood at one point there was a single origin in which all of the matter of the universe came into being, and that's the sum total of it all. It doesn't change. How do you know that without microscopes? That's a big leap into for something to get confirmed so many years later by a ton of study. And they also talk about consciousness, from Purusha, that's that single point. You could look at that as masculine energy, and then Prakriti, which is so there's these two. That's the where it starts, and then from down, another level is now cosmic consciousness. It creates cosmic consciousness. And then on a level below that is a collective consciousness, which is called the buddhi. The buddhi is what you're describing, the collective consciousness. And then below the collective consciousness is what's called an ahamkar, which is you, it's a container that creates the identity or the ego. So you are actually sitting inside of a container. That's all that you are. And it creates an I with inside of all these things. But that's all that it is. It's just but you're spot on. All I'm saying is you are spot on with a really incredible philosophy that there is a collective consciousness. Tapping into that.
It's an interesting thing to sort of experience on any level when you come up with some level of knowing or something to say. For example, we're in this conversation, we're sort of just dropping into a flow state. We're just saying things. And sometimes when that happens, not always on camera, could just be you and a friend, and you say something, you're like, how did I even know that?
Yeah. When people become great great outlets for you, when your connection is strong, it's really fulfilling. When you're sometimes I talk to people and I feel I can't remember what I'm supposed to say, or I have something I'm trying to say and I can't say it.
Yeah.
The person's not a good outlet or a good connection. And then you have people where you're wow, I didn't realize that I remembered all of these things. Here I'm talking to you and I'm remembering Sankhya philosophy and all these things that I haven't thought about in a long time. It's because you're a really good outlet for people. You're a really good conduit for things to channel through. You create that. That's really, you're really special in that way. You are a really special person. That a lot of in my time in Nosara, before I actually approached you at the Organico. I was like, hey, but it's because like you have an aura that people see around town. You're walking around barefoot. You're very like strong and well put together, and you carry an energy, and it's really like, and it's not something that happens by accident. You put work into that. The way you eat, the way and it reflects, and it's really cool to see you in a place like Nosara, which has a lot of like beautiful people, high performers, this and the other, and for you to stand out in a place like that is pretty cool.
Thank you. It's an interesting reflection to hear because I can't see myself, but it sort of resonates on some level with some of the things that you're mentioning where I notice in you as well and others who clearly are on a certain path of self-actualization, but not in a way that is in aligned with what culture expects of you. You're sort of on this authentic mission. And when I interact with you and others who are on this similar path, what I take away from it is always inspiration to be more myself, to be more authentic, to care less what other people think about me. For example, yesterday we were sort of doing some movement practice on the beach, rolling around in the sand, just doing movement however we wanted to, and we were really the only ones doing that. We looked around, there are people standing, sitting, walking, surfing, of course, but there's not many people doing handstands, doing rolls. You're doing some incredible yoga postures, and it's such a refreshing interaction to spend time with someone who's also on that wavelength.
Yeah. Thanks. That was actually like one of my comments to my girlfriend afterwards. I was like, man, it was so cool to move around with Case because it's like freeing because you don't really care so much about like what people think, and as and it should be that way because we're just doing things that are really organic and fun. Like why should we worry if people are judging us? And it's interesting this like aspect of like judgment and like putting yourself out there. People are always like, why does a lion concern himself with the opinion of sheep? I don't know. A sheep will hurt my feelings real quick, man. Like I'm very sensitive, and I'm like thinking back, like right now I'm starting to put myself online more, and I have some videos that got some traction, and at first it was like overwhelmingly positive, 100% positive. I was like, what? Like for like weeks, I went through without, and then like couple like mean comments started to like trickle in. And it was just like a freaking dagger, like to me. And I started to realize like why when I was on a reality TV show and whatever, like social media wasn't really a thing at the time, but like Twitter was and stuff like that. And so like my Twitter shot up to like 20,000 just from being on the show. Like, and I had like one or two maybe mean comments. I don't even know if I even saw one, but I just like was like not going to do it. Not even going to play this game, not going to participate. So I didn't use any of my social currency at the time because I was deathly afraid of like anybody saying anything bad about me. I was talking to Jasmine, and it's like that's such a deep like wound for me actually, like my identity, like being like mixed race, like half black, half white, but like looking the way that I do, like looking odd. I grew up my whole life with people making fun of me or saying that like, so I have a high sensitivity to it. So to be with you and to like liberate myself from like the concerns of it's a good practice for me, and I really appreciated that last night.
It's powerful. And having been on social media for a while and having had a ton of people making fun of me or sending me death threats about things that I've written mostly on Twitter, that goes away. Like it stings at first for a while, the mean comments and the even the death threats or any sort of non-supportive thing. One, it's inevitable once you reach a certain level of viral posts because most people are mentally ill. That's just the reality of the world that we live in. Most people full of negativity. They don't like themselves. They don't like their lives. So they're going to lash out and they're going to say things that just are not rooted in reality at all. They're just jealous or they're expressing their own self-hatred onto other people online. Then too, it's completely not reflective of reality. It's someone just like lobbing a stone from the audience at someone who has the courage to speak up and share something. But it's definitely part of the creative journey that I've grown to really love is that not caring what other people think in that realm has carried over to my regular reality, and I'm able to do movement on the beach in any way that I want with zero concern about what other people think or say about me. And it does hit people with a sort of awakening to where oh, that guy's moving, sort of like those kids are moving, like complete liberation. They don't really care what other people think. They're just having a good time.
Yeah. That's it's interesting. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess like the one comment that, I mean, there was a couple, but like one guy's like, I knew that he would transition, or I knew something like that. I transitioned into like, I don't know, like however you describe it. Okay, like I transitioned. And I was like, damn, what does like mean? Like I want to like write back, like who hurt you? Like why do you say that mean? Like what made you that say the things that, like why did you say that? Like that was like my initial like reaction, like what I wanted to write back. But I have like enough like self-awareness and like enough of like the observation of the sensation to be like, that's a sensation, let's curve to the right. But I still didn't have enough self-control to not like look at the person's like, who is this person? And it was like the most like toxic like masculinity, like gun-toting, like MAGA supporter, that guy, like whatever. I don't care like what your political views are, but I was like, damn, man, like these types of people, like it's hard to love them all, man. You know, like I have a hard time, like, you know, like thinking about like, sometimes I think about like Jesus, for instance. Like I love Jesus and like all great teachers. I guess I'll just say it like that. It's been like I never really like said it like out loud like that, because sometimes I get a little bit like, it's easier for me to say like I like yoga and I like Ayurveda like in these times, you know, because like I think like saying like, oh, like I love Jesus is like kind of taking a strong stance in like a direction. I think like evangelical like American Christianity kind of has like a certain like air to it, but basically I like the teaching. I like what the teachings of Jesus specifically, like what they can represent.
Yeah.
And I think like the aspect of him being like on the cross, like being crucified by people, but then asking for like forgiveness for them, because like, wow, like they don't really even know what they're doing. Like, forgive them. Like they got him nailed up. They done lashed him and da-da-da. And I can't even think about that. Like they want you to like imagine a person that literally is carrying the cross. Like what's that? Like anyways. And then in that moment, like me personally now, who I am, I'd have been like, you know, fuck all these people, burn in hell, I hate you guys. That's how I would have been feeling, right? So it's like they ask you to try to like, even in like your worst enemies and whatnot, say, develop this compassion. And it's interesting because this is the exact sentiment that they're trying to teach you inside of Buddhism. They're trying to teach you that all beings, they always have a prayer. When I was in Dharmashala in India, they had this prayer that was like, all beings, big and small, are all doing the best that they can. Everybody is actually doing the best that they can with the tools that they have, with the life that they've been given, with the environment, with karma and whatever. Every single being that you see, everybody you look at is actually in that moment for what they've been given and what they know at that moment is doing the very best thing that they know possible with what they can do. Everybody. And that's like a strange thing to think about. So if they're doing something bad, you have to say forgive them, because they don't even know that they're doing something that bad. Sometimes people do things bad, but actually like they're still just trying to serve their best interests. And that's why they did it, because they're trying to do what's best for them. And that's, but nobody's beyond that. Everybody's doing that. And that's a very interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. And also it awakens with me a curiosity around things that are just objectively evil. It makes me think, are there evil spirits that sort of take over someone, or are people sort of born with a demonic intent, just some sort of evil inside them? It's hard to wrap my mind around someone who just does things that are just objectively heinous and evil, to think they're doing the best that they can with those tools. With a troll online, I can see it where he's just trying to be funny, like he thinks it's whatever, you know, taking a pot shot from the bleachers of the stadium. But if it's someone who's doing like deep, dark, evil stuff, I'm curious what your reflection is about that.
Well, it didn't start with them. That's the thing. It's like Buddha likens karma to a flame that is being, like, to say there's a flame here and it moves over and it lights another flame. So your life karma, for instance, is not entirely your own. You're living out the karma of like your ancestors. So when you go back to thinking about like the algorithm, sometimes like an algorithm, like back in the early days of ChatGPT, it would hallucinate. Like sometimes it would just say the craziest shit based on just like the amount of like inputs and whatever, and all of a sudden it's just like fucking it's off. And that's what happens with people who do deep, dark stuff. It's just a perfect storm of events. Like it is their genetics, it is their environment, it is the things that they've experienced, and it has now created a complete hallucination inside of their mind. And that's why it's not their fault. It's because they didn't choose to do that. They genuinely didn't choose to do it. I've had an argument with a couple of people about like this idea of like free will. One guy here in particular, and he kept trying to say, oh, God gave you free will. But if you look in the Bible, no, it's like there's many of the disciples of Jesus that were talking about why is it that the things that I want to do, I can't do. Things that I don't want to do, I do. Like, why does this happen? And it's just because we don't have as much free will as we would require to make the change that is necessary to be better people. And that's the work. That's the work that like that's where the conscious communities will come together, explain that, do it together, and then be the change. But even inside of the conscious communities that you see, they all become like self-serving. They all serve their own interests, and that's like the pitfalls. They didn't break free from they didn't really break free from. Am I just trying to do more of what makes me feel good, and now I'm disguising it as like I'm helping humanity? But realistically, this is just my easy way to get a piece of the pie. And that's mostly what happens, man. And that's kind of like the shame. But not us. We'll be different.
Yeah, it's a interesting line to walk if you are orienting yourself to be of service to the community or of service to God, because you will have opportunities to do that, and you'll also have opportunities to be self-serving. And then there's opportunities that come around that are sort of like a mix of both. And I think this is sort of like, at least for me, I sense that it's some sort of a blend of both as you make your way through this wild experience that we call life. Is we're always sort of being offered opportunities to sacrifice ourselves to help other people. And it does take a real saint to be able to continually make that choice, because it's not easy being self-sacrificing. And I think that's why we look up to men like Jesus or Buddha for whatever, however real these men were. They certainly have mythological significance that has transcended the ages, because they were able to choose to be self-sacrificing and serve others when we all know how difficult it is to do that.
Yeah, and at the core of their message, they're trying to explain to you that, like, guys, like, you need to understand actually like how small like this time is as like a human. Like it's actually like in the grand scheme of things. Now this takes a degree of like belief, but both of them were trying to let you know that like your attachment to what happens on like this earthly plane, like you gotta like loosen the reins like a tad bit. And I think like that's a hard part to do, because like when we're so attached to it, we're like really trying to control the outcomes. We're really trying to squeeze the most juice out of it as we can. And now it's like bigger, like like that race to having the perfect life and having the resources to do so is like stronger than ever. I think previous to like social media, I think people kind of like fell into their roles a bit more like comfortably. Like my job is to have a house and like raise kids, and like I'm cool with that. Nowadays it's like, I want to go to Bali, I want to do this, I want to do that. Like I don't want to fucking work. So like their race to be like as fulfilled in their time here is like, it's an incredible race. And it I don't know if Earth can sustain that type of that type of pursuit at such a large scale. As we're here in like Costa Rica doing the same thing, right? Not us. So I don't know. So it's like, sometimes you gotta like admit, and that's hard for me to do sometimes. I talk all this shit and I'm like, damn, like all the fingers pointing back at me. So there we go. Like now there's my work to do. I go, what do I do to reflect on it? I guess the first step is having the conversation and admitting, admitting it is an important step.
Well, to be fair, I believe you said you spent the past 6 years working in New York City.
Yeah.
I was in LA the past 10 years, and we both have come to this place where we are looking to get to the next step of our journey. And it's led us here to a place where we've connected, and we've connected with this place and other people, and we've come to this realization, wow, there's something here, there's something really important and powerful, and there's a reason why I was called here.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so, and I hope that like this like genuine sentiment from my heart, this like vision that I have of being of service, like, because it's so deep, like the vision, like I can see it, I can already see the people, I can see the local people here, I can see how I can benefit everybody, like from that, maybe I will, maybe I won't, but like for me, I can see it. I can see how everybody like shares together and everybody benefits and everybody wins. I can see the mindset and the mentality that creates this. And like, I have that from a very experiential place. I have it from being down at the bottom, from being, kicked. I have it from, reclaiming my own health and my own like sense of satisfaction and my own like place of being, like, and being able to like know that I can share and offer this, and this being one of the most important things that you can acquire on your journey through life. And I think, like, I talk about this word like collaboration. It's like more of us need to just be in collaboration with each other. There's so much competition. Everybody's still competing with each other. America's competing with this and everybody competing with that, and people are taught like competition and this, that, and the other. And I think that's a lot of like what the ocean teaches you, because the ocean has a metaphor for every part of life, but it teaches you like collaboration. I was telling you when I first met you, like, why I love the aspect of like riding a wave is because like Alan Watts said that like energy moves in waves. We know that, like in Alan Watts' voice, he's like, we know that it's light waves, it's sound waves, it's like it moves in waves. So when you see the waves in the ocean, you're actually just seeing a great physical representation of how energy moves, and it like moves in sometimes chaos, sometimes the sets move quickly, sometimes they do this. But in order to ride the wave, you have to be in alignment with the wave. You have to hit it at the right time. You have to have the right speed. You have to have the right technique. And then when you ride the wave, you have the right experience. And it's like that in life. Life is constantly throwing waves at you. Now you have to make sure you're in the right position. You have to make sure that you're strong enough and have the right speed. There's all this preparation that goes into making sure that you stand up and ride the wave. And, I think collaboration is a part of that.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everything really is energy when we break it down. We're bodies of water, you're a body of water, and we're also these clouds of energy. Nothing in our body is really as tangible as it seems. This is all just a somewhat temporary form of energy and water, just like a wave. And we rose out of this earth, and we're going to rise back in. And then within that, we've got these opportunities that come like waves, and we're able to sort of try and make the best of them based on our ability to be human. I think that it's been great collaborating with you to create this podcast episode, and also in the conversations that we've had in the training sessions that we've been able to join together. And I'm looking forward to more collaborations in the future, and spreading the idea of collaboration out to as many people as possible, because it's a really powerful way to perceive opportunities for creation and co-creation. And appreciate you taking the time to co-create this with me.
Hey, right now. Gracias, amigo.
Jonathan Brookins, thank you.
Thank you.